Welcome, welcome to the Empowered Team podcast. I am so grateful to have my one and only, my husband Paul, on for this special episode. It doesn't happen often, so it's a special episode, and it's especially for the month of February. And today, Paul, welcome.
Thank
We
you.
are looking back at our top lessons from our two relationship trips. These are Tony Robbins relationship trips that were
Yep.
epic events. And we're going to recap our main takeaways so that everyone can kind of grab our main key nuggets that we took from those major events.
Sounds good.
Amazing. Well, just to give people a context, for those of you who are watching the video, this was from this big, huge manual. And just for those listening, it is about an inch thick, this big manual from our last relationship trip in Hawaii in October of 2023. And this one that's about 2 inches thick is from the one in 2021 in Texas. And to give people a sense of this relationship trip, it's an exclusive event where Tony Robbins coaches and teaches only his mastermind group of platinum partners. So there's a select group of people there. It's a week long. We learned so much, and what is condensed into days is multiple experts, decades of experience and knowledge, and we are basically drinking from a fire hose for a week straight, and it's all on relationship. So that's our relationship trips. We've done two of them because we didn't get it the first time. And and now we're here to share some of our
Yep.
key takeaways. Do you want to kick it? What did you think about you were keen on going to both of them, but what
Well, I
were you
remember
most excited about?
thinking about the first one. It wasn't going to happen. That was the weird thing, is that we were
Right.
supposed to be going to Hawaii, and because of COVID,
Yes.
they weren't allowed to run it there, and they were scrambling. And last minute, Texas was open for business, and I think Florida was probably open for business during
Mhm.
COVID there. But they were the only two states that would work, and so they last minute switched us to Austin. So I remember being disappointed.
Mhm.
It was our 10th anniversary trip.
11.
Going, well, wasn't it
It was
rolling
our
over?
11th
It was,
anniversary, but we couldn't do it in 2020 because
oh
everything
yes,
was
it was,
closed. And
yeah,
then,
but
yeah,
yes, correct. So it was our 11th anniversary, but our delayed 10th anniversary celebration trip.
yes,
Um, and we thought we're going to Hawaii, and
yeah,
we're going to Austin, and Austin's great, but
yeah,
we
nothing
wanted to go
against
to Hawaii though.
Austin.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking
So
Hawaii, Austin doesn't quite feel the
yeah,
same.
yeah. So yeah, so that was a little bit of a downer, but like you say, getting there, it's a special group of people, and it's not just you know, sessions on relationships. They have all kinds of amazing activities to do as well. So, we went horseback riding, we did shooting, we did eights rowing, we did a whole bunch of great stuff out, you know, as a couple. And so my thinking back to that trip, the number one takeaway I had from the first relationship week was kind of a concept which had ripple effects everywhere, but it was all the teaching they did on masculine and feminine energy and polarity and that dynamic. And there was so much they covered on it, but that dynamic of just how it's always at play in a relationship between a couple or in other areas as well. But it was just, that one was just, you know, almost shocking to hear how is that play in the background all the time and not have realized it. And I won't try to summarize all of it, but when I'm saying masculine and feminine energy, it's not male female. It's that I as a male possess both energies, you as a female possess both energies, and at different times or in different situations, we will shift into one of those energies or away from one of them in a positive or negative way. There's, positive elements to the masculine energy, or there's a negative way of, the negative side of masculine energy, and just learning how that dynamic plays in a relationship. And it just helped me understand you so much better, and what energy I would be showing up with in certain situations. And the easiest example I can give, because we need an example here, I can't just talk theory, but you were a strength coach in a former career in a male dominated industry. You were dealing with a very masculine environment, a very aggressive, competitive, driven kind of atmosphere. And to excel in that environment, you needed to play with your masculine energy and use that to be dominant at times, to be alpha in certain situations. And so you naturally shift into that energy quite easily, and having, been a single mom and having to do it all and run your own business. And so that tendency for you, when I come up against it, I shift more into sometimes a feminine kind of pleasing type mode of just saying yes and agreeing, or things like that. And what was really wild to learn is how that basic dynamic, which actually shows up a lot, that, in this room of platinum partners, where these are all very high performing, driven people, both the men and women in the room, that many of the women, I'm going to generalize, but overuse masculine energy at times to get what they want. And so they almost play in the masculine a lot. And so it rang true for you and how I think about you and the way you've operated. And then just seeing how I would respond to it, not staying in my masculine, but in a healthy masculine energy, but just shifting to more of a unhealthy feminine energy of kind of pleasing and whatnot, and just kind of going along for the ride, or not speaking up for what I want, and just letting you plan things at home, or kind of run the show and be in that, don't use the word dominating, but just leading kind of mode. That what it actually was creating for you is, and this was the wild thing that was mind-blowing, is that it basically came down to that if a female senses in her male partner that she can dominate or lead that male, that it actually creates this kind of underlayer of mistrust. And the driver there is that you think, okay, if I can dominate him or lead him or sway him, then so can another female. And that's a risk and a threat. And it's really primal. And kind of just understanding how that then naturally has you want to test your partner, your male, your other half here, and show me that I can trust you. And the ways that you might do that then cause tension or something in a relationship, just had me seeing how my way of placating or pleasing, just how, don't use the word damaging, but just how it creates this weird dynamic that makes the relationship really strained at times, and it's this loss of polarity that they talk about, that shift in energies creates a loss in polarity. And when you have polarity, things are fireworks and awesome. But when a partner shifting into an unhealthy masculine or feminine energy, then that just goes to the wayside. So long spiel there, but but that whole concept and just how it kept showing up throughout the week, and seeing, oh, and there's that energy shift, and it's happening here, and it was mind blowing.
Yeah, and so that was the first thing I marked down that I was going to say as well. And to those listening, we separately decided what we wanted to share on this. We didn't come together and plan. We're showing up here to share our own nuggets here without collaborating ahead of time. And that's the first thing that I wrote down as well, was the masculine and feminine energies. And I would say, just because a lot of people who haven't gone into this realm of learning, I don't want people to think that that one is dominant over the other. Masculine doesn't mean it's dominating over feminine and vice versa and whatnot. It's that when you said what did you say? You said when my masculine would come up and almost be dominating and you go more feminine, it's not that if I could dominate you, it's if the female can manipulate the man.
Mm-hmm.
It's that. It's not necessarily a domination. It's that if she can manipulate the man or bend his will or um then she feels that some other female may, and this is also unconscious,
Mm-hmm.
but one way or another, it was just very eye-opening. And I ended up standing up and saying, I think I'm really operating in the masculine at one point and got coached for several hours, unfortunately and fortunately. So unfortunately for I guess the time frame or whatever, unfortunately for I mean, incredible nuggets and value that I got to have from and the rest of the room as well, because when one person gets coached and goes deep with Tony Robbins coaching you, everybody learns. There's just no way around everyone not seeing something for themselves or their relationship or um so yeah, that was a big nugget. There are many nuggets I got from that coaching, and it changes all the time because memory is uh very malleable. And but that masculine and feminine came down to the crux of most things for me, needing and having that pattern for so long, even from my childhood, both of my parents encouraging more masculine traits versus more feminine traits. And then that coming up into my career and then coming up into my marriage. And the wild part about it is that you were attracted to me as kind of a badass go-getter, but also having that feminine side where I'm naturally feminine, but any of
Mm-hmm.
those characteristics and traits were really thwarted, especially in the environments I had been in, business and trying to be both mom and dad to my child, and not wanting to show any level of vulnerability or any of the things that people might find attractive in a woman, because then that could put me in a situation of vulnerability or not being, especially around the number of men I was around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's just, yeah, that for me too was very eye-opening, the masculine and feminine energies. And now in business, I educate leaders on this so frequently because there are dynamics at play everywhere in the work environment, in people's marriages, where these feminine and masculine dynamics, if it comes up into an unhealthy masculine, just trying to, bull in a china shop or overpower people, or an unhealthy feminine where it's more manipulative or clingy or needy, those things are showing up in everybody's lives, and they're not serving relationships. They're not serving how we as humans have the potential to show up. So yeah, the second one for me was me being in mostly a masculine energy. And I took away from that one, just going, okay, I started to explore all things feminine, doing my hair, doing my nails more, and not that those are necessarily traits of feminine, but I was exploring with what would I do to feel more feminine. And I started to study other women, and normally I'm just way more comfortable around men. So it
Well,
it
I
was
think
a
just
real
a word
journey
you
for
might be
me.
looking for is that you were just expressing more feminine and that you had intentionally downplayed any of your feminine
Yes.
in the
Yeah.
work environment to
Yeah.
just remain in, because you wanted to be taken seriously, to be seen as completely professional and
Yes.
associated, expression with dress or
Yes.
various things that you couldn't do that.
Yeah, and I love that you say expressing more feminine, because it's it's there. I am very feminine. It was just
Hmm.
very thwarted. And
Yeah.
so I was not expressing as the wholeness of myself. You are naturally very masculine. And on the flip side, likely from your upbringing or different environments, there were certain scenarios that were very specific that had you become more feminine that wasn't natural for you in certain scenarios. It just was a practice trait that served you at one point. And that's, I think, the truth for all of us. Any other ones for 2021 that really stood out for you?
Well, do you have one? Because I don't want to steal another one of yours if you've.
Thank you. And then ladies first, is that the scenario? You being a chivalrous
Well, it's
gentleman?
technically ladies second, 'cause I've already gone,
Well,
but yes, ladies
yeah,
first, second
yeah.
time around.
Yes, yes, thank you. I said the five archetypes. I think that
Oh, okay.
so this is we had a presenter, her name is Kari Davidson, and by the time this airs, I think we will have aired an interview with her. So the five archetypes is the book, and it's based on Eastern practices and beliefs. And it is the five archetypes are simply wood, fire, metal, earth, and water. And they archetype personalities based on these traits via a quiz that we all did. And when we did the quiz and you got your results and I got my results, we were both like, uh-huh, holy cow, are you ever this? And turns out
Hmm.
that I'm mostly wood and second metal. And those top two traits really indicate certain areas that we're really, really good at and other areas that we might struggle with. And when you saw yours and when I saw mine, we were both kind of going, oh, that's your metal, or that's your
Yeah.
wood, or that's your, and then we had this bucket or this container or labeling system of being able to understand behavior that wasn't about making the other person wrong at all, but just more understanding them from a space of this is what they have as some very prominent traits. And instead of being picky at how somebody does something, you as my partner, I could then see that, oh, this is his metal showing up in this situation where I tend to have less metal in this situation or this context, and he has more. So we can make a joke about it. I can embrace it, and it's less friction between the two of us, and there's more understanding and grace between the two of us. So those five archetypes I found very helpful, and I think they're a great tool for anyone to use, even workplace, couples, you name it.
Yeah, the to help make it land a little bit, wood for you is your dominant trait, and wood is basically, in a nutshell, get shit done, go, go, go. Next, next, next. What's up?
It can't
This
happen
constant
fast enough.
moving. Yeah, it
Yeah.
can't happen fast enough. And my most dominant is metal, which is almost,
Perfectionist.
it could be like anal retention.
Yeah.
But no, but it's kind of order and a little bit of logic and just deliberation
Yeah.
and
Beauty,
and
aesthetic, specificity.
but I definitely err to that needing order and just um it's a little bit slower but perfectionistic, which if you do too much of it, it's a bad thing. But yeah, so when and that can just create some frictions in a relationship if one partner's go go go, let's get this done, the other one wants things a certain way, or um is more grounded in earth with water, and you know um it's just understanding those ways of being of your partner and where that might cause an issue. It just helps you understand. So
Well,
yeah, it was really cool.
the bizarre thing for you and me, I think, well, not bizarre, but very interesting and helped me understand us better is that your number one and two are metal and wood. My number one and two are wood and metal. So
I
when
thought you
we
were wood and
class,
fire.
pardon me, yours
Weren't
is
you
wood
wood
and
and
metal.
fire? But
Sorry?
you, I thought
No,
yours was wood and fire.
I'm wood and metal number two.
Oh, okay.
And but the thing is that what it allows is that when we clash, we really clash because there's going to be a wood coming up against metal.
Hmm.
So it's if your wood is dominant in a certain area, then I'm metal, then we're not seeing eye to eye at all in a specific context.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is that because we have the same number one and two, they're just flipped in order, is that I really understand when you're in wood, or I really
Yeah.
understand when you're in metal because I have
Been
that
there.
too. Those
Yeah.
are my top two as well. And so when that's the case, it's if we can get out of our own needs in the moment, then we can really empathize with the other person because we understand it so greatly. So those were really interesting to me. How about you?
Nice. Well, the other one I had for the 2021 trip were the three U's and three C's.
Oh,
And
those are good.
I thought these were just awesome because they're simple. Something that's simple to understand uh, is always a good thing. And the three U's are the three things that you don't ever want to be doing that will have your partner, your woman, feeling the first U unseen, the second U not understood, and the third U unsafe. So
Mhm.
if I'm making you feel unheard, not understood, unsafe,
Big red flags for
not
the
doing anything
woman.
positive for the relationship
Big
at that
red
point.
flags for the
Yeah.
woman. Any woman,
Yeah.
any woman.
Yeah. And you know, that could be summarized in making you feel minimized or, disregarded or not taking value or stock in what you're saying or just not hearing it, being in my own head, being angry. And so that you're feeling unsafe or, just primal, kind of things. Just understanding that if any of those three things are coming up consistently, that it's a real problem and needs to be addressed. So I really like those because it's really easy to apply them to almost any situation that, there's a disagreement or just something was off. You can almost always chalk it up to one of those three pretty quickly and figure it out. And on the flip side, for the guys, it's you don't want to be made to feel criticized, closed, or controlled by your partner. And that I know that is true for me. I hate feeling any of those. That you aren't open to me, that you're closed. If I feel like you're shutting me out, that's bad. I don't like being criticized and definitely not controlled. So um, the three U's, the three C's, really easy, but just so applicable to so many different scenarios that I thought it's pretty powerful. So
Yeah, and they're easy to remember for the most part. Same letter, same, just three of them. And honestly, I can't, it doesn't matter how masculine a woman is or feminine a man is or vice versa, because it's just energies in everyone. I can't think of people that it doesn't apply to. It really tends to resonate for most couples.
yeah.
I love those. Yes, those are great ones. The last thing I had for 21 was the thing you already pointed to, and it was testing the man for trust. So
Mm,
so I'm just going to give an example without going more deeply into this. Let's say you and I have an argument. Not that I would ever do this, but you and I have an argument. We seem to be, you open up and become very vulnerable in a certain space, and you feel like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. You're now not closing off to the relationship and creating more trust. And in that moment, the woman may then come in with, well, remember the time that you blah, blah, blah. And
yeah, as Tony puts it, right in that moment where you've finally been vulnerable, you have a little bit of a breakthrough as a couple. She kicks you in the nuts again.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And so I thought, and this is the thing, this is the test. Can you hold your own? And this is
yes,
that, in the moment, especially if a couple is arguing, then it's this kind of, okay, now we're getting to a safer space. And then typically she, sometimes he, but typically she will then test and go, oh yeah, you're going to hold your own and be all conscious and aware and logical and supportive in this moment. Well, what if I say or do this?
Yeah.
Are you still gonna be in your best right now? And so it's typically it's not done to, no one's wanting to hurt their partner. I mean, well, maybe they are in the moment, maybe they feel that way, they're in an emotional storm. However, this happens so frequently, even when we look back and go, why would I do that? And it's a very primal thing where women especially will tend to do that little, final dig, that final comment, that final nudge, that
Yeah.
final push in order to test, yeah, well, are you really going to stay this way? Are you really going to hold your own? Can I trust what you say? Can I trust that you're going to do this? Can I trust you?
Yeah.
So that was very interesting for me to realize some of the these deeper workings that we're not really aware of. So there
Can I
was
just
that
add
one.
something to that?
Yeah.
You remind me of, I didn't write this one down, but they had at both trips 4 ways to attract a man or a woman, and then 4 ways to keep a man or a woman. And the number one way for a man to keep a woman is that unshakable presence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exactly what you're just talking about, is passing those tests of no matter what she throws at you to test, do you love me? You just are there, you're present, and you're like, bring it on. You can say whatever you want. I love you. I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And just, literally giving her your presence is the most powerful, the number one way to keep, if you are always that, then your woman will have that deep trust, that primal trust box checked, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
huge one.
And Tony would joke about this in saying, but I am present, like,
Yeah.
yelling at her, and then he's like, but what she really wants is not just the connection. I'm connected with you right now. You could be connected with someone screaming in their face, but it's connected and calm
Hmm.
to really have that presence for
Yeah, the
the
unshakable part,
relationship.
just the steady.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there.
Fabulous. Are you ready to move on to 2023?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Um,
Do you want to go or do you want me to
yeah,
go?
I'll go with my second one for 2023 because it ties into what we are just talking about.
Awesome.
In those moments, this is just a real simple one, but such a big one for guys that we need to have awareness around is in those moments when you're coming to me with something, I need to be screaming to myself on the inside, don't fix it, don't fix it, don't fix it, just listen, and listen with empathy. That is what you're looking for when you're bringing something up. And as guys, part of the masculine energy and that thing is just a doing, a fixing, being that. And I imagine most of the guys listening to this, when someone comes to you with any kind of a problem, your instinct for sure is to start solutioning. And well,
Yeah.
have you tried that? And that's not what you're looking for. You're looking to be heard and just understood, and for me to understand your experience. And I could say, are you interested in some solutions? Like I could bring up that, I
Yeah.
mean, do you want to go take the conversation that way? But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the wrong thing to do to just start spewing out, well, why don't you do this? You should
Yeah.
do this. This will fix it. Um,
Yeah.
and there's that amazing video that I know you've shared before with clients, and
Nail in
um,
the head.
nail on the head. Yeah, just Google that and watch that video. It
So
sums up
good.
that idea so well. But yeah, I'd written down, don't fix it, listen with empathy.
So good. And honestly, because I was so masculine for so long, I then started to understand that I was doing that in so many relationships, doing the fixing and yeah, totally agree there. And I can't tell you how many most of my clients are men and how many men I end up saying that same thing to, just just let her get it all out. Wait till the balloon is out of air. Like just let it get all out and then nod and be there and support and then ask gently, just like you
And
said.
but that presence, like you were talking about, just be
Yes.
there, be present, be
Yes.
empathetic. Yeah.
So good. Um, this is a general thing, and I'm not going to be able to explain the whole thing, but it's the relationship life cycle, and it's broken up into seasons of spring, summer,
Mm.
fall, winter, and then there are a whole a whole description of what occurs in these seasons of a relationship and really allows couples to identify, well, where are you in your season? And what I looked at when we looked at that, I noticed that it was like we weren't necessarily exactly in the same season. To me, I might have been in a certain part of the season, and then for you, you might have been a little bit of a different part, and that could create some of our conflict or some of our issues if we're not either on the same page or working towards the same things, then then I have to back up or you have to go forward. So we're actually together in the same season of our relationship and its energy. So that was an interesting part for me in the last.
I think another way to summarize it for listeners is just it's almost a roadmap of a relationship of, here's what various stages would look like or key events or things that you may go through as a couple. And
Well, there's a
milestones or
specific
markers
roadmap.
somewhat.
There's a specific roadmap as well. There's a whole different thing that's a roadmap, but this one was the four seasons, but there is a roadmap as well in that
Hmm.
that he taught in that session. But this was a separate one. Yes, we were at the same event, everyone.
Yeah.
It's just that this is what happens with humans is that we have different experiences of it completely. Yeah. Yeah, so that one for me, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting, but it's the kind of thing that I could see I could see a time or two again in order to learn more from it. And that's the other part about these two relationship trips is that some of the teachings are the same. And the
Yeah.
second time going through them, I would
So
get
true.
more out of it because it was like, oh, the first time I had to just familiarize with it or just understand the concept. And then the second time I understood the concept, but now I could actually see it in our context or my own life or things like that. So, um, okay, we're on the last couple here. We want to wrap up here shortly. What do you got?
Yeah. My other big one to the point you just made was at both events, they did a session on kind of the journey of a man. They also did that for women as well. And with the journey of the man, they use kind of a medieval metaphor of the various stages that a man will go through, with the primary reason, I think, of teaching it to be examining the phase that in kind of everyday lingo would be just called the midlife crisis, but which
Tunnel.
Tony calls the tunnel. And to quickly summarize this, you start out as a young man as a page, and you're just out there playing and getting to know the world, and then you graduate to being a knight. And there's different kinds of knights you can be. If you can be very driven and focused, you can be more of a playboy who's just into partying and that kind of a knight. There's a couple of different ways to spend your nights, pun intended. And then graduating to a prince, and there's several kinds of princes. Some people are just happy to be a prince, but again, there's some people who are super driven and want to make it to what the end of the stages are, is to become a king. But in between transforming from prince to king, there's a period they call the tunnel, which is somewhat like the midlife crisis, but you reach a point where when you're looking in the mirror, you are thinking about your age, you're looking at yourself, and you're just the primary thought that is there is that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I should be at
Okay.
X by now, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. I've fallen short. I've failed. I'm not making it. everything is a grind. For a lot of people, this is a very challenging period where they're trying to grow a business and haven't made it to success. They, there might be in a challenging part of their relationship and haven't figured it all out yet, how to please their queen, how to show up consistently as a king with that unshakable presence. So it's this period of turmoil, of struggle and constant challenge that some people just don't get through. They don't reach the other side. And it's a really powerful session, again, with this type of group, because there are so many people who are so driven and looking for huge results. And to get there is a battle. And kind of the biggest things that I took from it, hearing it the second time, the first time it was kind of interesting. And that was the night that you got coached. So that kind of shook all of that up in round one. But in round two, that what I took from it is, there is this phase, but to get out of the negatives of it, the demoralizing aspects of it, it's really just the mindset shift, and kind of getting to a place of just acceptance of that life is problems and that they'll always be there, and to just really be grateful for what you've learned and what you've come through and recognize it to be where you're at. And the one line that I noted, I looked this up yesterday just to find it, but it's that, the shift of the mindset of, I'm not being punished, I'm being polished. And that the process is so important, that the process is everything. That just really stuck with me, that it gets you out of that almost, I love you call this, but the poor me-itis.
Yeah.
Of I've got all these stresses at work, it's this blah, 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 struggle, issue. But it's like, no, that's life. That will always be life. Another thing they said, if you don't have any problems, you have a problem, you're dead. You're not alive, because life is problems. But so it's just a really powerful session of just kind of letting go of all of the stories that are attached with this phase, and letting go of the external markers, and just celebrating the process and what you have, and the relationship that you do have, and the risk that you are taking, and your commitment to bigger things. That those are the traits of the king already, and that you are there when you can make that mindset shift to just own it, as opposed to, I can't think of that. What's the saying?
It's
life happening for me instead of life happening to me. That
yes, and the resistance creates persistence. So resisting
exactly.
what's around you, you're literally fighting reality.
Yeah, so that was a super powerful session. It was, gosh, that specific kind of whole process was a good 3 hours or more. So that one I think was my biggest takeaway for sure in the 2023 round.
And so powerful for you at the time, just in what you experienced and the breakthroughs you had and what you were able to release. It's really powerful. And on the flip side, I'm not going to go deeper into it, but it was the archetypes for the female as well, and a little different than the male, where there's lover, maiden, huntress, mother, sage, queen, mystic. So just understanding how dynamic, how many layers, how many options that we as women can tap into, and what men are experiencing. And then there's I'm gonna wrap up here, because we could go on and on. We could do another session on this for sure. But what I do want to point to as well, that there's that polarity, there's the sexual dynamic, there's the understanding ourselves on that masculine and feminine energy, and how to go into some of the topics that we may never have learned about. And those are some of the sensual, the sexual, the energetic, things like that Jaya would bring to us. I didn't even have that written down, but I think it's important to mention, because it was so it basically once you get a lot of the stuff out of the way, then you can focus on what we really want, which is more love, more connection, more intimacy, and that can be in the bedroom or not in the bedroom. And one last thing from my end here that I think is so important for people, and it really, I got into it much deeper on the second relationship trip, and it's the attachment styles. And the majority of
Yeah.
us are not securely attached, and it stems from our babyhood. It's basically, this could be the generational trauma that we have adopted or been subjected to in our childhood, and then unknowingly go into the world with an insecure attachment, which could be avoidant, it could be anxious, it could be traumatic. And then these old nervous system patterns that we don't even remember, but that were really taught into us unintentionally, or sometimes intentionally, but these attachment styles tend to become very dysfunctional and tend to work against what we really want in our workspaces, in our relationship spaces, in our parenting spaces. So when you can understand them and see why we're doing what we're doing and have some compassion for our young selves, then we can understand that, wait a second, okay, this is, how do we go towards what would be called a healing love style or a secure attachment style? And that was very powerful for me on that last one as well. That's that second relationship trip. So, do you have any other last thoughts on our relationship trips? I mean, we could go
I
on
don't
and
know.
on. These are so powerful.
I would say just the overall biggest takeaway that I come away from the trip, either one, is that if I want the relationship that I want, the relationship of my dreams, it really starts and ends with me. It's
Yeah.
not about you at all. It's about me making sure I'm serving my needs and then allowing myself to show up and just serve you, my love of my life every day. And just um, doing that will create the relationship I want. Expecting something from you will never happen. Trying to change a partner obviously will never happen. It's just showing up and loving on them and looking to serve, but at the same time being true to myself and being the best me fuels that. So that's the most important part. We can talk about all
Yeah.
these different concepts and things, but it's just it's that, that's the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I love that. All of these concepts, all of these learnings are simply to fulfill one thing, and that is the love for ourselves and those that we care about. It's just all about love, for and really making a scenario of caring for ourselves and meeting the other person's needs in such a way that they become a raving fan simply because you keep showing up in a way that serves the other person. Because
Hmm.
ultimately, the quality of our relationships creates the quality of our lives. And thank you for being my relationship and in my life and creating such quality for me. So, love you, honey.
Love you.
Mwah. So we will wrap it up with that, and we hope this serves you in your relationships, and even some of the nuggets can serve you in not just intimate relationships, but family relationships, work relationships, because any of these concepts will affect all of your relationships. And as my daughter likes to say to me, I'd love to say to all of you, which is, you've got this. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're facing today, whatever you are going for, you've got this.